Okay. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Good morning. I know it's early. Let's turn on the Bluetooth. Connect. Still having a problem. So, oh,
I'm here.
hey,
Let me fix things up here.
something ain't right. I have technical difficulties.
Okay. We will solve them.
The stream didn't start on YouTube, I don't think so.
Oh, that's interesting because I have the other problem. I have it. I can start it on YouTube, and I can't start it on Facebook.
I don't know what Facebook status is.
But I can post it on. I can post it on Facebook. I have 5,000 followers.
It says
They're all asleep.
Started at 9:30, but I'm not sure what time zone they're on.
Well, it's 7:34 right now.
No, it's 9:30.
Yeah. Well, 9:30 for you. Yeah.
So are they working on West Coast time zone?
No. When you log in, it matches whatever your time zone is.
Okay. So I started the recording on Get Vocal.
Good.
And I thought that triggered it on the other two systems.
When you created the show, did you link the accounts?
Yeah.
Okay, because that was my screw up the first time.
Yeah, I did all that and put in the keys. Well, oh, it's working, right? No? Yeah, that's your screen. So it's streaming live on YouTube, and it's showing your screen right now.
Great.
So it went full screen to all four squares to your screen since I popped out to this.
That's weird.
That's good to know, though. So if I wanted you to be able to pop in, I would just lock the other two seats, and then you could go to the web browser to your video. If I pop back in, I bet you it changes. Let's see here. No, it stayed live on. But no, it put us side by side. It's instead of 4 squares, it's 2 squares.
No, it does 4. If the other 2 people were in here, it would do 4.
I know, but it's doing 2 now because there's only 2 of us.
Correct. Yes.
That's very cool. All right, so YouTube is running. Facebook, I'm not so sure how to see that. So just click on the live video link on the page.
I could never get Facebook to run. But Leland can. Let me ping Leland and see.
It's showing a camera that's got. Fuck, it's my fault.
Is it your page?
No, it's my fault. Here we go. So,
Randy, is it on your Randy Osborne page?
Yeah, Randy.Osborne.
Okay, it says today at 7:30. This live video should start soon.
Okay, so problem is what?
Yeah, you have to go into like the Creator Studio and push the button to start it or something. Leland was saying. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
Okay, so if I
Let's see if Leland's around.
it's forcing me to go to the ripcord cam, and I don't want to do that. I think I need to go to connect.
I'm going to post it on my wall, the link.
Live video. Publish as a continuous video. I don't know what happened, but I had a scheduled event. I don't know how to get back in to control that scheduled event.
Right. Yeah. See, you're doing exactly the same thing that I did. and I couldn't figure. I didn't see any start button. I didn't see anything like that. But Leland said you have to actually click on something.
Looking under my profile, I think
I'm on your profile right now.
Shit.
But Are you in the Creator Studio?
No, YouTube is working. It's Facebook that I'm having a problem with.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so for Facebook, you got to go into the live section where you would do a live, and then supposedly there's something inside there to click to get it started.
Okay, so I'm currently under live posts. No. Let's see where I'm at. List. Back it up.
Oh, is that Colin? Facebook prohibits API-based stream starts. They make you deal with it on their page directly. That's what Colin's saying.
Right. So I'm at the page, but I don't know how to deal with it directly.
So somewhere in there is a start button, and I couldn't find it.
Go live. There it is. So I hit the go live button, but right now I've got the wrong screen popping up for some reason.
Yeah, you're live.
Is it showing you the video from
Yep.
Get Vocal?
Right now I see 720. I see 1280 by 720.
Yeah, that's not the Get Vocal screen. Where's the Get Vocal screen? Get Vocal?
Right now. Oh, I got to turn this audio on. The audio's there. Look, this is what I'm seeing right here, man. Look.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing. And I can't get it to show the Get Vocal like it does on YouTube. So I'm putting out the same feed from Get Vocal, but on Facebook it's showing this 1280 by 720 placeholder.
Where's it getting that from?
That's the ripcord something or another. That's one of the default drivers. Something on the Macintosh.
That's interesting.
Apple Pro.
Okay, so we solved one issue. There's a go live button on Facebook you need to click, which I never knew there was.
Yeah,
one.
so I hit that, and it gave me options of certain drivers, but it wouldn't let me select any of them except for this default one. The default one doesn't work. So I'm going back to the settings. I don't see any options for me to change anything. Very strange. I think I'm going to give up on Facebook if I can't get this to work. YouTube is working.
That camera feed, that whatever you're on right now, is crystal clear.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's my MacBook Pro's camera because I haven't got my TriCaster running yet. Forgot a monitor, and there's no monitor over here that I can plug into, so I need to get a monitor before I can do this. I need to get my son Garrett to bring me a monitor. But I need to call him, and I haven't had time to do that yet. So, cameras you are accessing. Here we go. So I've got FaceTime. Let's see if that works. No. Try saving it. Let's see a save button. It shows an allow for Facebook and for Get Vocal and for YouTube. All are allowed in my settings for the camera. I don't get it. So if I close that tab, it didn't change the camera.
Who's Casey Lynn Coco?
That's my daughter in the Netherlands.
Okay, so I'll send her this link.
Yeah, if you go to the YouTube page, it's working. So I'm not sure what's going on with the Facebook part. That's a technical problem that I don't think I can solve.
YouTube. What's your name on YouTube?
The Mighty Oz or Mighty Oz. Let me see.
Randy Osborne.
Maybe that.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Channel.
Randy Osborne. I don't see.
Mighty Oz. MIGHTY space OZ.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Oh, yeah, Mighty Oz live stream with the Porsche, of course. Behind the curtain.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, it's working great on YouTube.
So that's good. I just got to get a monitor now. So if I could get my daughter to join in, and she can call Garrett, wake him up to get a monitor over there. Because I'm missing that one piece so I can get the TriCaster running. I had it hooked up to my television set at home. I didn't want to bring the television set, so I was going to ask my son to borrow one of his monitors. And he was out late last night, and I didn't ask him last night. And then this morning I got up and he was sleeping, so I didn't wake him up. Oops.
Colin, we got it. We got it working, Colin.
Yes, I'm very happy with the Facebook part of it. I mean, not the Facebook, the YouTube part of it.
YouTube's working like a champ. I'm on there right now.
Can't get my headphones to work.
Oh, Facebook says this live video has ended.
Facebook said that?
Yep.
Bastards.
I know, right?
So I set everything up properly. It went off without a hitch. I was in before the start time. Do you have to get into it 11 minutes prior to start time?
Yeah. No, I don't know. Well, what the hell happened?
I saw that in Colin's video, and I was like, okay, well, I scheduled it 11 minutes before. Do I have to start it 11 minutes before?
Here's Paul in the... Nice. Let's see. How can I tell Paul to come over here? Here, I'm going to put this link in the welcome room. So that
let me see if I can get a hold of my son.
How far away are you
from a monitor from my son? Let me call him first.
Oh, you're on front page of Get Vocal right now, baby.
Uh-oh. All right, so I'm just trying to solve a technical difficulty. This is going fairly well up to this point.
Yeah, but Randy, you can use your phone and you could log into another window in this stream.
My son is sleeping still.
Hey, Lokesh, how are you, baby?
All right, so all of my cool stuff is contingent on getting the Glowcaster up and running, so I need to get that monitor.
Okay. Can you not use your phone and log into another window?
I can't get the interface for the TriCaster to come up. I've got the track screen showing me on the interface.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you could grab your phone and use that as another feed into another square in the window.
Oh yeah. So I have the single account though, so I can't do it.
Yeah, but do you have another account?
No, it's going to kick me off if I go in.
Oh, it will. Okay. Yeah, I have two different accounts, one for my phone and one for my computer. Because when I do Nerd World, I take two squares.
What's that?
I said when I do my Nerd World broadcast, yeah. I take two squares.
2 squares. Yeah. Okay. I don't have that second account. I guess I could do a guest account.
But it won't let you come into broadcast, I don't think, on the guest account. Lokesh, will it? Let me see. I can tell you that in 2 seconds. Let me log in incognito. Let's see what happens. Continue as guest. Join now. Oh, log in. Yeah, that's it. You have to create an account.
Wow, that was interesting.
Yep. See, he just said that. Grabbing the spot is not allowed.
Okay, so you have to have a formal account that they have a valid email for.
Yeah, but Lokesh, he has that phone already tied to this account. And so how do you get around that problem?
Yeah. So what I'm doing, if I could get the TriCaster online, which shouldn't be that hard, is I just have to have a monitor so I can see what I'm doing because I can't do it blind. Oversight on my part. I will do a better job next time. But the phone, I have an NDI driver on it, and I can have it go in as another NDI input to the TriCaster. So I like that. It lets me roam around and walk around and show you stuff, and it will be on the same screen with my hand-tilt zoom camera.
Right, I get it.
So I had them side by side in 2 windows. So I had the floater camera that I can go around and talk about stuff with my phone.
But if worse comes to worse, you can grab the computer and turn it. Are they brewing right in front of you?
Yeah, right now there's boiling water, so it's nothing exciting going on. But I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera up. It's NDI. I don't think I can get it to talk to my computer. I have to get this. Use the phone number. Log in. Let's try that.
Mr. Oz. So formal, Lokesh. Mr. Oz can use his phone number to log in with on the app.
Yeah, so I'm going to log out and log in with my phone number.
Yeah, but won't that end his other stream on his computer, Lokesh?
Thirsty. You got to wait 6 weeks, Steve.
Funny.
Wish I knew my phone number.
Oh, no. You originally signed up with Facebook. Yeah, okay. So you can use your phone number. You could create another account on your
so
phone.
I need to pop away into a browser.
Thank you, Lokesh. Oops.
This was all working so well in the living room.
Well, I know. We had everything working.
I had it working even better. After you left, I went and set up the NDI on my phone, and I was like, score, this is awesome. And I was able to cruise around the house and have all kinds of cool video.
Is the camera 4K in your phone?
It looked really good. I don't know exactly what it is, though. It's Motorola DV. Motorola Z2. So it closed the app and it jumped out. I'm not sure why. Coming in.
There you go, baby.
Ah, cool.
So mute one of the feeds. Lokesh to the rescue.
Nicely done.
Kill one of the audio feeds.
Yeah, I just set my phone down on the computer. That was stupid. So can I flip my phone around or?
No.
All right, so let's see. You can see this. This is the mash. It's got hot water and it's soaking the grain.
Yeah, but before you start, I thought about this morning. Before you start, give me the elevator pitch on how this process works.
Okay, cool. See if I can fit the kettles behind me. That would be good. All right, so basically the brewing is multi-step, and which steps you choose to embrace is really something that's elective. You can start out simple, super simple, with a little kit, and the kit can be, like a complete kit, maybe $100. So you start out with a $100 kit, and you get a recipe that's done with something they call extract. And the extract is the syrup that's created in the mashing process. It's concentrated, and it gives you a quick start. So you don't have to do that process, which is kind of lengthy and involves a lot of, you have to do it right. If you skip a step or you do something wrong, you get results that are less than desirable. But here behind me, I have a bunch of kits that are in boxes, and they're for all different styles of beer. So you basically pick the beer you want to make, and you grab a kit for it, and you can make that kit. So here's a Kolsch, here's a cream ale, Dunkelweizen, a beer noir, Belgian wit, Belgian triple.
Nope.
I
want a Pilsner.
Let's see if we can get you something that's like that. Pale ale, nut brown ale.
No.
We're going dark.
I don't like any beer. I don't like any beer I can't see through.
Okay, so Saison and Kolsch, or a blonde ale. These are the ale equivalent. So when you start with a kit, you're making a beer that is easy to make because it skips a lot of the steps, and you just got to follow a simple recipe. And you can do this on the stove. So you don't have to have elaborate equipment and stuff. You just have to have a boil pot that's big enough for
But I want to know, I want to know the topographical process from whoever figured this out 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
They took some wheat or some grain or something.
I think it was it was more of an accident than that. So what probably happened is they left some stuff outside, and they came back by it one day, and it was all lathered up, and they went, "Oh crap, I got to throw that stuff away." And then they came back to it a couple days later, and they go, "Hey, something changed." And then they tasted it, and they went, "Shit, this is good." So it was.
But you take barley or malt, right?
Well, basically it's sugar. So you start with sugar, and the sugar comes from the grain. So barley and malt are the typical beer sugars, and you convert the starches to sugars by doing a mash process. So the mash process is complicated. So skip that step altogether, and you get this kit. It has this syrup that's in a baggie, which has all of that done already. So you don't have to do that part of it in the kit. You just take that bag of syrup and you put it into your kettle, and you mix it up with water, and then you start your boil. And at that point, you start adding things like hops, different adjuncts to make flavors and stuff. And after you boil it for about an hour, typically an hour, you have burned away all of the impurities and stuff that would contaminate it. And then you have to cool it down really quick so that you can keep it from getting contaminated during the cool down process. And then once it's cooled down, you put the yeast in it, and then you wait. And so the yeast does the heavy lifting. When you're making beer, you're basically making the sugar water that feeds the yeast, and then the yeast does all the work. And so the kind of yeast that you use is relative to the results you're looking to get. And there's lots of different kinds of yeast out there. Here's an example, a bunch of different yeast strains. This is just a little bit of what's available. We got a pretty good stock.
How long did it take you to learn this process?
Well, the first kit went fairly well. I made some mistakes that weren't undesirable, but they weren't correct. So 6 weeks is the full process from the start to the finish. So you start out, it takes about 2 or 3 hours to do the kit. And then once you're done, you put it into basically a paint bucket. And they have paint buckets that look, let's see, let me come over here. You see these buckets, kind of like you see at Home Depot?
Yep.
But they're food grade. And so the food grade bucket, you pour the wort into the food grade bucket, stick some yeast in it with an airlock, and the airlock allows you to keep the contaminants out, and it just bubbles away. This is an example of an airlock. And so this barrel that you're seeing here is a extreme application where they put tons and tons of beer into the barrel, and they're aging it to get the characteristic of the bourbon barrel. But the process goes about 2 to 4 weeks in the fermentation part of it. And at that point, you rack it off into either bottles for capping it and putting it in bottles and storing it, or into kegs like I do, which is a much larger investment. So if you're going to do bottles, you have to have bottles, and you can use bottles over and just get a capping tool. Capping tool looks like this. You see that? So the capping tool.
There's a guy in the warehouse looking at your computer.
Is he? And so basically the capping tool lets you cap it onto a bottle, and you reuse old bottles as long as they're cappable bottles. And so you can save some money in that regard. But I use kegs. So right below that, you see these kegs. And these are old soda kegs that you would see soda kegs like that in syrup for the soda fountains. And so they don't use them anymore.
Every 7-Eleven. Yep.
Yeah. And so they don't use them anymore. So they had a surplus, and the craft beer community embraced that as a vessel to store their beer in. So I have 5-gallon kegs like that I use. And then by having those kegs in a freezer and modifying the freezer to control the temperature, I'm able to either condition the beer the way I want with the temperature control that I want, or serve it at the temperature that I want to serve it at. And then I have a big CO2 tank that I use to carbonate it. I can force carbonate instead of doing it through the bottles. In the bottles, you have to add a little bit of sugar before you cap it, so that the sugar in the beer continues to ferment, and it creates the pressure that ends up carbonating the beer. So there's formulas.
So there is no elevator story on how to brew beer.
Basically,
you couldn't tell me how to do it.
It's not that
30
cool.
seconds.
There's a really cool flow chart that you can get your hands on that kind of illustrates the process, but it doesn't explain the timeline and all the, the aggravation and fun that goes into doing the process. But the process is different on every beer. So it's the same concept, but it's different relative to the recipe.
So you can't say follow these easy 17 steps.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of sort of that way, because if you boil it and put in all the stuff during the boil that you're supposed to put in, and then you cool it, and after you cool it, you put in your yeast, and then you wait. After you wait, you rack it into either your bottling bucket or your kegs, and then you carbonate it. And once it's carbonated and bottle conditioned or sitting there and getting clarified over a course of a couple weeks, you get the result you're looking for. And with a beer like you like, which is a Pilsner, it takes a lot longer because it does it in a colder temperature. And so the cold temperature creates a slower process, and you have to wait for good things, right?
Yes, you have to wait for good things.
So I've made one Pilsner, and it was a clone of Grolsch style Pilsner, because a coworker of mine is a really, really big Grolsch fan. He loves the stuff. And I told him, man, why do you drink that beer? It's skunky. And he says, oh, it's not skunky. I like it. So I made him a clone recipe of fresh homebrewed Grolsch, and he did an A/B comparison. Now he likes my beer.
Really?
Yeah. So my gross beats Gross's gross, and that I don't think it's fair because mine was fresh and it was not skunky because it didn't get mishandled. When you put bottles that are green or white, the sun can get in and cause the beer to change its flavor, and that's where you get the skunky taste from. So people that use green bottles.
You got a whole audience watching your stream now.
Really?
That's fantastic.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Well, I got my phone linked up to my headphones. I couldn't get it linked to my computer, maybe because the phone already had it. So this is working out pretty good.
Yeah. This is fine.
And I threw the wireless mic on, so I'm broadcasting to the computer from the wireless mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I muted that mic so that we wouldn't get that feedback.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfecto.
Pretty sweet.
And I inventoried.
What made you want to get into doing this hobby?
Well, I got a Christmas present from my son-in-law, and in the spirit of trying to make him feel like the Christmas present wasn't a waste of time and money, I went ahead and followed through and completed the process. And in the wake of completing that process, I realized I really enjoyed the process, and I liked the idea of trying to do different kinds of beers. And so the beer that he gave me wasn't a beer that I even knew the name of when I got it. And when I made it, I went, wow, this is pretty damn good, except I burned it, which is not desirable, but it didn't taste bad. And so even though I screwed up on the first attempt by burning the beer, I had like an amber-colored Kolsch, which is supposed to be golden like a Pilsner. And so my Pilsner color wasn't right. It was more like a amber beer.
And what process and what part of the process caused the burning? The first step or the second?
You know how when I say you open up a bag of this sugar, which is extract? I put the extract into the pot, and it's heavier than the water, so it sinks to the bottom. Well, if you ever had a boiling kettle and then you put like candy sugar in it, and that starts to go and fry like bacon?
No, because I don't go near the stove.
Okay, well, so this is a foreign concept. Okay, well, basically, it was the pot was hot, and the syrup went to the bottom, and it started sizzling like bacon. So I was burning the syrup because it was heavier than the water, and I didn't stir it rapidly to kind of mix it together. And I was doing it myself, so I had the bag in my hand. I'm squeezing it out. By the time I got done squeezing it all out of the bag, then I started stirring. So I needed to really have four hands and be stirring and squeezing at the same time. So I learned that the hard way, so I wouldn't do that again. I'd either have somebody help me squeeze it for me or perhaps stir for me. One of the two. I like the first one better.
That's what the girl at the picnic said.
She said,
"Can you squeeze this for me?" Hey, so where are you at now? Are you inside of a brew place where you can buy all those supplies?
Store where they make have the supplies. And so right now they're actually in the process of doing work. I'm in the way, but they're currently loading up grain into a customer's order. So they're weighing out the grain, and the grains start out as whole grain, and then they take that batch of grains and they go over and they mill it if the customer wants it milled, or they give it to them as whole grain and they mill it themselves at home.
Cool. Looks like a fun process.
Yeah, you can see from all the little vessels there, those little plastic jars, that's all different styles of grain. And it goes over a huge gamut from light to dark. And they basically have base grain. The base grains are 90% of the recipe's base grain, and the rest of it's all grains that help add extra character and taste to the beer.
And then what about the hops?
And the hops are forbidden, and there's the hops out there in the world, and they keep getting more. But these are all hops. You see all that?
Wow.
I don't know what you did to your audio, but now it's spectacular. It was sucking before.
Got more hops.
Wow.
In the fridge.
My wife's calling me right now. How about that?
Funny.
So the hops are for bittering, and they have different flavors. Some of it's floral, some of it's more fruity, and some of it's very, very aromatic. Others are just straight up bitter. And so you pick the hop relative to the style to complement whatever's going on with the grains and any of the adjuncts you put in.
How about marijuana? Can I make marijuana beer?
Hemp beer.
Yeah, they have hemp beer. Hey.
Yep.
Sorry about that. My wife called me.
He's talking to his wife.
When I'm doing a live broadcast, obviously she didn't get the memo. I sent her to Vegas, and now she's calling me here. I figured I had free time.
So they use hemp in replacement for the wheat?
Yeah. Actually, it's probably more of a stunt than anything else, I would think.
Yeah.
Just extra additive.
Yeah, they call it an adjunct. But I have never done it with hemp because it wasn't legal to have hemp here. So I couldn't get my hands on the raw materials.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
Well, I'm heading out. Nice seeing you again.
What's that?
Thanks for the tour. That was a great tour.
I'm having microphone difficulties. My wife called me and interrupted my headset. Now I can't hear shit.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. You'll never find another love like mine.
The last time I did a double camera broadcast, I used my mobile phone, but I plugged in my earbuds, my wired earbuds, and then I just laid that on the. It was basically pointing down at the surface that I wanted to point it at, which was my cooking surface. But then I was using the microphone that's in the Logitech camera as opposed to the microphone in the mobile phone. And that seemed to work pretty good without any kind of feedback loops. And then I also muted it on the screen myself manually.
Okay, I'm back.
1, 2. Randy, test 1, 2.
I'm back, but I don't know what the hell just happened. My wife called and it interrupted my headset. I guess it's connected to my phone.
That's one way to do it. We've done away with a root system.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Some people think,
okay.
Affirmative.
All right, so where was I at before I got interrupted? Something about
about hemp.
Hemp, yeah. So I've seen hemp beers before. So they make it from hemp, but I'm not sure what hemp's role in it is. It might be the equivalent to the bittering agent, like the hops.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure.
Do you know anything about the history of beer?
Not in detail. I'm not a historian. More of an enthusiast. So I just know that they've been making beer type products for a minute without hops for thousands of years. Hops is kind of a newcomer on the block. It changed the game, and they actually passed laws in Germany. It's a hard word. Help me out, Don. Is this like the Reinheitsgebot? Reinheitsgebot or something?
Worse.
Watch out, Trey.
Reinheitsgebot is a law that they established in Germany that determines you have to use 4 ingredients to make beer: water, grain, yeast, and hops. And so those 4 ingredients are required. And if you make beer with substituting one of those ingredients, you're not making beer, and you get in trouble, or you can't call it beer.
You can't call it beer.
Yep.
Here it is.
Yeah, hard word. Reinheitsgebot.
Yep.
Yep.
There it is.
It's showing it backwards because my screen, I didn't modify my screen.
I have it here.
Reinheits.
I'm just trying to get my tripod up.
Who are the famous beer makers in Denmark?
Tuborg, Carlsberg is the biggest now, but they've taken over Tuborg, I believe. Tuborg and Carlsberg are the biggest in Denmark. But then down in Germany and Czechoslovakia, those are some of the best beers that are from all of Europe or
I think
from
Czechoslovakia is one of the first places that actually commercialized beer.
Yeah, their beers are awesome. They're just so smooth and tasty. Yeah, there's a Carlsberg factory.
I knew that they were really big deal in that area of the country. So Germany and Czechoslovakia, Belgium, these are all strong birthplaces of beer.
There's also something called mead. That's kind of like a beer, but it's
mead is made with honey. Thank you.
Oh, mead's made with honey. Okay.
Yeah, mead is made with honey, so it's a similar process, but the honey is the sugar part of it instead of the converted grains. When they convert the grains from starches to sugar, that's the process that they're doing right now.
Cool. Also, some of those dark greens will give you like coffee and chocolate and all kinds of different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Holy smokes! Let's do a quiz, children. List of countries by beer consumption per capita.
Per capita?
Wow.
I know Denmark's probably up there pretty high.
I think that's going to be a hard one. Some countries are drunker than others.
Yeah.
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic. I would believe it. I would believe it.
Yeah.
Czech Republic, number 1. Zambia.
Isn't Prague there?
Yeah.
Austria.
Yeah, so Prague is like party central. So it makes sense that they'd be the drunkest.
Poland.
My wife is from Czechoslovakia and Poland. Half and half. So she's drunk all the time, right?
You know who's up there? Is the Seychelles. Seychelles.
This is a live stream. It's got 4 different squares, and this guy's in Holland. Donald, where are you at? Denmark. And John's in Las Vegas. And so basically it's social media at another level. But I came over here, and Keith was kind enough to let me be a fly on the wall for his brew day.
Germany.
Because I figured I couldn't brew beer successfully and make it good if I was doing this and that at the same time. Because you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay attention, you get results that are less than desirable. And I like to make great beer, not crap beer.
So where are we at in the process now?
Jeff's ready.
Randy,
What's that?
is the mash cooking right now?
Is the what? The mash.
Mash.
Yeah, he's mashing right now. So if you can see his equipment, he's got a mash tun over here on the end.
You got to hold the camera still because it got like 1 frame a second.
Okay, so that's the mash tun. You see that?
What is that? What did you just pour in there? Looks like cocaine.
Yeah, so that was a what they call a water chemistry additive. So it's probably salt. So when you mix it up a grain batch, it's going to change its pH. And so when the pH changes, you want to correct for whatever is going on with pH, so you stay at a range around 5.2, 5.6.
So you're testing the pH as you cook?
Yeah, so that's why I can't really film and record while I'm doing a good job of making the beer, because I got to take measurements. Those measurements have to be looked at and then calculated in the computer so you get the right adjustments. And he's got all his notes. I'm going to show you behind the scenes. So these are the notes, and he's got all the different things he needs to do, and it includes all the hop additions, all the different water additives. So today we're making a Sierra Nevada Celebration ale, which is going to be made probably for drinking right here at the shop, which is kind of cool because the shop has all these supplies, but the big free bonus is this. Check this out. This is called a kegerator. You see that?
Tuborg. Yep.
It's a kegerator, and all those taps are live, man. They got beer in them. And so from the menu, you can see what's in each of the taps.
That's some serious beer. Sour cherry.
Okay. Yeah. So all of those taps are there showing you the recipes that you can make. And these are their kits that they have. And they're making these beers and then putting them in here so you can taste them. So you come over here and grab a cup. It's a little early for drinking beer, but what the hell? So let's see. What are we going to drink? I like a wee heavy. So I'm going to go to number 5. So I just got a wee heavy.
Nice.
So this is one of the perks.
I'm a wee bit.
This is one of the perks of being in the beer store. You get to have all the free beer you can drink.
I'm a wee bit heavy myself.
Yeah, so I'm a wee heavy, so that's why I go for that first.
That looks like a stout.
It's a wee heavy. That's a Scottish beer, and Scottish beer is on the sweeter, maltier side of the scale. It's really the polar opposite of a IPA. The IPA is a little drier and more hoppy, a lot more hoppy.
My mother would cook with beer. She would take beer and old fruit bread and make like a soup with it, and it was really delicious because she used what's called Julebryg, which is a low alcohol sweet beer, and it's really tasty.
I like the Schwartz beer. The Schwartz beer is the dark side of the table.
Schwarz beer.
That's what I'm talking about. Schwartz beer.
Yeah, this is really good.
So you're drinking what I told you I'd like.
Yeah, this was started in 1543. That particular brewery.
That's wicked awesome. So yeah, that's my style of beer, Don.
Yeah, this is a really smooth beer. It's really good.
So I haven't got a hold of my son yet to get my camera set up, but I'm going to continue to try because I wanted to cover the process a bit more, but I can show you what he's got here set up. You got the pumps. You see the pumps? That lets him move. It lets him move the wort from the kettle through what he has over here, which is a heating element inside a toolbox. This is very, very, very DIY stuff. So his heating element's inside a toolbox to keep him from getting burned, but he hooks up all the hoses and he recirculates the mash from the pot without having to run the flame, and then the heating element heats it back up and pumps it back in and redistributes it to the top, so it continuously flows around. It does a much better job of converting the starches to sugars. Starches to sugars.
Wow. Yeah.
What's that ball in the middle of the kettle there?
That's his sparge arm. It actually controls the flow of the water relative to the height of the fluid. So when it gets it all connected
it's like a float.
Yeah,
it's like a float in a toilet.
Yeah, it helps it keep from overflowing.
Got it.
So it's really cool stuff, and the equipment's what I'm into. So I'm like, this is like going to Tim Toolman Taylor's garage.
That's the ugliest wife I've ever seen, Don.
So you see what he's got here? He's got a valve that he just opened up, and now I'm in the way, but he's got fluid flowing through these hoses. It's going into the heating element, and it's going to come back out from the output from the toolbox back into the sparge arm, and it's coming back into the kettle. And then if it gets too high, that little ball will shut it off.
Did you say it goes into the Charizard? The Pokemon?
The Charizard. Yeah, the Pokemon ball. That's a sparge arm. So sparging is a continuous recirculation process. You can do it a lot of different ways. There's a lot of variation on the process, and you can basically pick the one that you can afford. But at this level, he's probably got a few $1,000s tied up in equipment just to be able to do what he's doing there.
Yeah. Randy, you want me to call your son?
Yeah, Garrett.
What's the number?
Jeez, now you're asking me the hard question. Let me see if I can look that up.
So we wanted kind of medium, and so I'm hitting 155.
225. Wait, I got it.
265?
225-620-8757. He's going to be popular now that he's on the internet.
560.
Does he have a YouTube channel?
5.
Did you get it?
Not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Get up!
Does that guy have a YouTube channel as well?
No, he's an engineer.
Oh.
Or are you talking about the beer store?
Yeah, the guy that you were I just heard him talking in the background.
Yeah, the
Sounded
beer,
like he was
store, the beer store's address is LA Homebrew, lahomebrew.com. Let me pull that up real quick, and I'll put the link in the chat.
Exactly. And you think of like a filter, it's super dry. It's not sweet beer.
What's up, Gabe? What's up, Baba? Pancakes.
Brew.
Okay, so here's the link in the chat.
If y'all are doing it to distill,
I have a very important question.
Okay.
Maybe you could ask those guys there. How many beers does it take in order to get a girl into bed? He can't hear me. You hear me?
I heard you.
Nope. Can you hear me, Rand?
That sounds like a Donald Trump question.
Okay, I can't.
Randy, can you hear me? Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
What was that guy?
Really?
He got busted for they didn't want to get him into the Supreme Court because he was getting drunk when he was in high school or whatever.
Yes.
Well, doesn't everybody drink? That sounds like a question that he would ask. How many?
We can hear you. We can hear you, Houston.
Okay, so I can't hear you. Give me a second here to.
Houston.
Every time I use
1
my
2
phone,
3.
it screws up my headphones.
1 2 3. 1 2 3. 1 2 3. 1 2 3. 1 2 3.
Hey, Randy, the next time you might want to just try wired earbuds into your mobile phone. The reason being is there's nothing that can disconnect them. They're really rock solid. They work just about.
That's a great idea, Donald. Let me see if I got a headphone jack on my phone. No.
It should.
What is it, an iPhone?
It's a Moto Z.
Moto Z. Okay. Motorola?
Moto Z2 is the formal name.
Oh, so it's Bluetooth.
Yeah, everything's Bluetooth, and I have no plugs, except there is a – hold up a second. I remember there's a plug that goes into the power connector that has a cable that splits off to a headphone jack.
Huh.
I have that equipment in my bag. Let me do that. That's a smart idea. Thanks, Donald.
Yeah.
Hey, wasn't King Bluetooth from Denmark, Donald?
The problem is my phone is connected to the same Bluetooth headset. And so when the phone rings or when I use the phone, it screws up the connection to the audio feed from the phone.
Well, you got to choose which is more important, live broadcasting or answering the phone. Yeah.
Wasn't King Bluetooth from Denmark?
Can I hear you now?
Donald?
It could be. Sounds familiar, but I'm not really sure.
How do you not know that?
Because. Oh, King Bluetooth.
The name?
The King, yeah. His name was Bluetooth, yeah. Yeah, I just heard that.
That's what I told you. Didn't I told?
I'm connected.
Yeah, I just heard that.
I told you 2 onces.
And Anthony, I heard Anthony say that he had some kind of lineage to them. Remember when Anthony said that he had their DNA tested? That was too funny.
I don't know if Randy, you have a Twitter handle?
Yes. The Mighty Oz.
The Mighty Oz.
With the V in front of it. I couldn't get the Mighty Oz was taken, so I got the Mighty Oz.
The Mighty Oz, Gabe. You're getting feedback now, Randy.
Yeah, it's getting too close to the computer.
Yeah, but it's muted.
No,
Computer's muted.
But the other feed is not. There it goes. Now he's blocked.
Well, now we can't hear you at all.
So that's what I mean by using the one where your picture's at. If you unmute that one, you should reduce or eliminate that feedback loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the
So there's
computer.
the computer mic.
Okay.
Then he,
Perfect.
Okay, so while I'm trying to
No,
solve
then
this
it can't
technical
move.
problem, I'll use that.
Yeah.
If I can find the cable, I can hook up the earbuds.
I have a very important question
Okay.
to ask, Randy. How many beers does it take in order to get a girl into bed?
Yeah, that's got a technical aspect that could be controlled by other things.
Too many variables.
Okay,
I have a problem.
the weight of the woman.
You know, my wife doesn't drink beer.
But you got her into bed
Without beer.
a few times.
It's been reported.
What you're concluding then is if you have a brain, you don't need to give girls beer.
I think the
That's what you're
brain
saying.
and the sense of humor are your two most powerful aphrodisiacs.
I agree.
For some people, it's just 2 beers because all it takes is 2 beers for them to start talking to a girl.
That's a self-inflicted thing.
Yeah.
So you got to fix yourself before you can go off and try to explore in a place you're uncomfortable. I was
Yeah.
never uncomfortable.
Well,
I was
don't
just
we like to
ignored. I was too young looking, and so the girls assumed I was 5 years younger than them. When I discovered I can get girls 5 years younger than me, game was on.
Yeah, you got kind of that baby face going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm 60.
For
And
me, it was opposite. I could get into nightclubs because my whiskers were growing when I was about 17 years old, so I could get into clubs easy. Nobody ever carded me.
Ironically, John's brother, Joe, he was so old looking. I was 18, and he was like 12, and he was buying us beer. And then we went to go see this movie, The Jerk, and it's a
Yeah.
R-rated movie. And so R-rated movies you have to be 17 to get into. Well, I was over 17, so I could get in. They let him in. They carded me, and he's 12.
That's too funny.
There's no justice. Some people got genes for some things and some for others.
Randy, I got to get going.
It's not the same for everyone.
I got to get going. I'm taking my dog out for a walk. He's been chomping at the bit to go out.
Take care of that. I left my puppy at home.
It's been really fun sitting here seeing your tour around that warehouse. That's pretty cool.
We'll be here all day.
What city is that in?
Baton Rouge,
Oh,
Louisiana.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that's what the LA for. Okay, LA homebrew, Louisiana homebrew. Okay, cool.
And they got free
All
beer.
right. Yeah, I'm gonna get there someday.
It's worth the chat. It's worth the trip. If you get out this way, you'll be overwhelmed with how cool it is.
I'll bring one of these with me.
Deal.
So when you think of what they call
Thanks, Don.
I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Yeah. They're basically trying to get the hop character higher than the malt character in the video, right? But if you're doing a stout, you want the malt flavors higher than the hop flavor. So it's purely based on recipe. It just kind of depends on which brew. And again, as a brewer, you can customize that. If you like it a little hoppier, add more hop. You know.
See, I told Donald not to leave. Test 1, 2.
You want me to see if staff?
I told Don not to leave while I was peeing. Didn't listen. Colin, I just got your text.
Right here. Actually, here and here.
Yeah, so just regular.
Yeah. As long as I can see the output, I can use the machine, but without seeing the output.
Yeah, the thermostat on this that controls your
It basically is almost like a giant U. When I'm done, I'll open it and show you whatever. So the wort comes in. The hot water heater element is this way. The thermocouple is on the output, right?
All right, so I'm going to shut off this other mic.
Exactly. So you want to rip the picture on the output coming back, but then
Got feedback. Feedback, Randy. Yeah, feedback on one of the
I'll turn it off.
buttons.
Better.
Yep.
Okay, so CO2, lots of it.
We can't find your Twitter handle. It's not The Mighty Oz.
It's got
That's
to be.
some guy from England.
It's got to be the Mighty Oz.
Nope, it's some guy from England.
Okay, try the_Mighty_Oz. I'll pull it up.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I mean, we did that because I might have to do work. You know what I'm saying? I can do that. That's going to run for 3 days. Right? I don't have to worry about it. You can match that. Fine. Yeah, usually 60 minutes.
Nope, can't find it. I'm still getting feedback. I don't know how, but
Okay, so it's the_Mighty Oz with no space between Mighty and Oz.
okay. Did you hear that, Gabe?
Here it comes. Bingo. All right, so basically I don't have the monitor to hook up the feed that I was going to broadcast right now, so I'm working on that, trying to get a monitor. But show you some stuff. You asked what he was putting in the beer or into the mash tun. These are different kinds of salt. We got gypsum, some sugars, some acids. All these are different water chemistry things that you can use to modify the pH in the mash. And so on the shelves in here, they sell.
To keep it what? Neutral, 7.5?
Now you want 5.2, 5.6 in that range. So
So you want pH?
So they sell all this stuff. There's different kinds of things for different purposes, like the Irish moss here. That's used for making the beer clear. I use these. These are called Warflock tablets, and these are used to clarify the beer. It's a fining agent. So by putting that into the beer, you end up getting a lot more flocculation into the bottom, and it clears the beer up. This is a yeast nutrient. Use that to make the yeast happy. It's like vitamins for the yeast. And here's some different things for winemaking. Potassium, hardware. So all these different chemicals are used to do things in the process that if you don't do, you're going to get results that are probably less than desirable, but they're still drinkable. They're just not as good as the stuff where people have paid attention to all that. So by upping your game and paying attention to the little details, you eliminate the potential for off flavors and undesirable characteristics for a style of beer that you're trying to make.
So there's a lot more variables than people understand.
Yeah. So the way I equate it is it's super technical, it's scientific, and it's difficult. So that's what intrigues me about it, because I like things that are like puzzles to figure out. And obviously I haven't done a good job on the TriCaster today, but I'll work on that. With winemaking, you're pretty much along for the ride based on the grapes that you crush. So if you don't have good grapes to start with, you don't get good results. So a lot of times winemaking isn't as a challenge because there's not as many technical stunts that you have to pull off to be able to make it happen in a good way. And plus you have to have access to the raw materials to do a good job.
Yeah, the process of winemaking is way simpler.
Yeah, way simpler. So that's basically why I don't really care about the winemaking because I know I could do it. It's a lot easier than making beer. But making beer has been a huge technical challenge for me, and I've gotten proficient enough to where I'm comfortable, but I still have tons to learn. There's like an infinite amount of styles and variations on the styles. But what's really crazy is if you boil it all down to its bare essentials, there's only two kinds of beer. And you like one of them. That's the Pilsner style, and that's what they call a lager. So lagers are fermented with cold yeast that thrives in a cold environment. And then ales thrive in a hotter temperature, and the ale yeast works at the top of the fermentation vessel, and the lager yeast works at the bottom of the fermentation vessel. And so basically they do it two different ways, but every other beer is a variation on those two styles of fermentation.
Got it.
So it gets simple when you boil it down like that. And if you saw a gene, or what they call it, a family tree for different kinds of beers, they would all come back to those two parents, either one or the other.
Nice.
So I don't know where this came from, but this can't be all of them because everything says American in front of it. I'm looking for a list of the major types.
Major types of beer or major types of yeast?
Beer.
So what?
Here's the periodic table.
That's a good one. That gives you kind of an idea of how they all come and where they come from.
Yeah.
So check this out. They have fermentation. These are vessels that they put the wort into after it's finished being boiled and everything. And then you put the yeast in there, and that's where it ferments. So typically it's done in glass or a PET plastic. And they also use the buckets, like the buckets you see over there. Yep. And then the next level up is the big stainless steel containers like you see at breweries. And the cool part as a hobbyist, though, is in these glass containers, these plastic containers, you can see the thermal currents of the yeast going to work. And it's really kind of a cool spectator sport if you like seeing how it works.
Yeah, it bubbled. Doesn't it bubble? You showed it on Facebook one time.
It actually has thermal currents that go up and down through the vessel. And if you have one of these glass vessels, you can see that happening, and it's very, very interesting. And I find it to be super exciting to watch because it seems like magic, because the yeast goes in and just sitting there, nothing's happening, and then a couple days later it's going crazy. And so the yeast is eating up the sugar, and in exchange, it has a byproduct of alcohol. And so that has to happen. And so you start out with gravity measurements, and this is where it gets really technical again, is that you have a hydrometer, or in my case, I have a refractometer. And the hydrometer, something like this, it's like a, let's see, hard to see. It's like a tube of glass. It's, there you go. So you see something like this, it's like a tube of glass with a weight at the bottom, and you put that in a graduated cylinder, and it measures the gravity of the sugar when you get done making the beer. So once you've measured that, that's your starting gravity. So the starting gravity tells you how much sugar was in that wort after you got done processing it. And when you finish making that measurement, you go to the next step, which is fermentation. And when it finishes going through the fermentation process, you measure it again. And in that measurement, you get your final gravity. And those two numbers, you can use them to subtract and come up with the amount of alcohol that was created in that process. And so that's where they get the numbers of the alcohol by volume, is by using a formula to subtract the finishing gravity from the starting gravity, and that gives you the alcohol content.
I actually followed
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty scientific, and you can figure it out before you start on paper. And then how well you hit your numbers dictates whether or not you hit your target. Now, in this hobby, it's kind of a byproduct of not doing it right, is you get a lot more strength in the beer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely not something you're trying to do on purpose. But when you do screw it up and it goes foul, it usually doesn't turn out in a bad way. It turns out in a good way. And then, if you don't like it with too much alcohol, you can dilute it a little bit before you put it into bottles. But for the most part, a stronger beer isn't undesirable. But if you're shooting for a certain target and you don't hit it, then you kind of goofed up a little bit. But the goof up doesn't hurt you much. I made a Belgian triple that was more like a quad. Didn't make me unhappy, but it definitely wasn't what I was going for. That goddamn cactus juice. It had agave syrup or agave nectar that I used as a sugar to help get the numbers way up high, and it worked really, really good.
Here is the most 10 popular beers in the world.
Okay.
Ready? Number 10. Cheers. Number 9.
Oh my God, we're just talking about piss. You
Corona.
can tell I'm a beer snob.
Number 8. Yan
I've
Ying.
had that beer. Not good.
Chinese.
Well, there's so many Chinese. They got
Number
a head
7.
start.
Harbin.
Harpin.
Chinese oldest brewery. Harbin.
Harpin. Harpin.
Number 6. Heineken.
In the can. Very nice.
Dutch brewer Heineken. Number 5. Skoal.
School. What is that, Russian?
British, Canadian, Swedish, Belgian.
Swedish, Belgian.
No. British, Canadian, Swedish, and
Okay,
Belgian.
so it's owned by an
It's part of
conglomerate that owns
InBev. InBev.
InBev is
InBev.
Budweiser.
That's right. Correct. 4. Bud Light. Bud Light is still the number 1
Yeah.
in the United States, believe it or not.
Yeah. So you're making me unhappy with
Number 4 in the world.
Not making me happy.
Number 3. Tsingtao.
Oh, very popular.
Tsingtao, very, very popular. Almost entirely in China. Tsingtao. Tsingtao's not bad. It tastes like it's a little tangy, It's
Yeah, I hate it.
It's a light beer with a little tang.
Yeah, not a fan.
Number 2, Budweiser.
Never mind.
The king of beers isn't quite the king of the world, but it's close.
They definitely have some market share. Not that they deserve it.
Owned by InBev, which is the big, huge conglomerate. Right. And number 1 is Snow.
No. Never heard of it.
Far and away the most popular beer in the world is Snow. More than doubling Budweiser's sales.
Tell me, where is the snow from?
The power of Snow is drawing the attention of other beer giants. Early in August, Heineken announced plans to take 40% stake in the company that owns it, the largest beer producer in China.
Jesus. I never had it, and I've been to China a couple times, and it didn't seem to ever hit my list.
No beer. No beer. There it is. It's all in Chinese, so that's the number 1 beer in the world right there, baby.
It's another Pilsner, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm not a Pilsner fan, so I like my beer darker, like my women.
Yeah, right. R.
I'm talking metaphorically dark, not whatever.
Snow beer in China, of course, it's number 1 in the world.
Yeah, so they got a head start with all those billions of people.
Oh, this is funny. It's the number 1 beer in the world. Here's a beer ranking site, and it's got a 2.25 out of 5,
You see that?
which is poor.
Beautiful, gorgeous. That's what a beer looks like.
And that's
very immature.
That's called mash, right?
Yeah.
Is that mash?
Yeah, he's recirculating the mash right now. So he's got a heater element that's keeping it at the right temperature, and it's got a control. I'll show you it's hard to see here, but there's a little control that he has a temperature of 157 degrees. See that?
Yep.
So that temperature control keeps that heating element, that temperature, and he keeps recirculating. So as it cools down and brings it back around, it comes back out at the right temperature. So,
but when do you know the mash is done?
He's got a time that he's going to do this for, and it's based on how long it takes to convert the starches to sugar. And so usually it's about an hour. Sometimes it can take longer. It depends on the type of grain you're using. But for the most part, most grains, it's about an hour process. And he's actually accelerating the process by continually recirculating. When I do it, I don't have a rim system. I have like an igloo ice chest that I put my grain into, and I put the water in at a certain temperature, and then I put the grain in, and I know that that's going to adjust it to another temperature, and that's my target temperature. And so that's all calculated in a computer program before I start. So once I have my water at the right temperature, put my grain into it, it drops the temperature, and then when I have the target temperature intact, I put the lid on it and I'll let it sit there for an hour. That typically gives me no more than about a 1 degree variance over the 1 hour period because of the cooler's ability to store that heat and not cool off. So it works really well. And at the end of that process, I run my wort off and I put it back in on top of the grain bed, and I recirculate it a few times with a pitcher. And so I'm doing it manually. And once I've done that a few times and it starts getting clear, I run off my first runnings of the wort, and the first runnings are very clear and there's very, very high concentrated sugar. And then I go back with some hot water that comes out of my hot liquor tank. And I don't think I showed you the third tank. He's got a boil pot, a mash tun, and then he's got a hot liquor tank. And the hot liquor tank is just basically a pot full of hot water. And the hot water is done at a higher temperature, and you run it through the grain and wash them off, and it gets all the sugar off of the grain, and it gives you a diluted end result, which you still calculate because you only use a certain amount of volume of water. And by combining that, you get a new starting gravity, which is supposed to be right at your target number. And if it is, you get a result that's super predictable. But when you screw that process up, you may start out with a number that's higher or lower by a certain amount. But the starting number that you start with, before you go to the next step, you have a chance to adjust if you want to.
Jesus, there's so many variables involved. It's just crazy.
I guess that's what intrigues me about it, because it's not simple. You just can't turn it on and hit the button and you get popcorn. It's not like that.
I mean, it sounds overwhelming when you're listening to it.
Well, the cool part about it as a hobbyist is you can start out with the basic kit that are skipping a lot of this science stuff with the water chemistry and the mashing and being able to convert it and make sure it converts properly and the starting gravity. You just put the syrup in the pot and mix it up, and you're done with that part of it. It's a huge saving of effort and time and knowledge because you're skipping all those steps.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
a
quick start.
According to the site Beer Advocate, the top-rated beers, according to the community, with 708 ratings, is Kentucky Brunch Brand Stout. You ever heard of that?
It sounds familiar, but that's probably a breakfast stout, but they're doing a variation on it because for a long time there was a beer called Canadian Breakfast Stout or Kentucky Breakfast Stout, KBS, and those beers were really popular, and they're very, very, very similar to bourbon barrel stout.
This is called Toppling Goliath Brewing Company.
There's lots of good beers out there, and those surveys are like assholes. Everybody's got one, so choose wisely.
Yeah, but that's 708 ratings.
Yeah, but again, it's a social media thing, so sometimes that's skewed by a certain clientele. It doesn't give you a clear picture of the overall community as a whole. And so the guys that are doing this as a hobby have a different opinion than the guys that just go to the Albertsons and buy the Budweiser.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of any in the top 100.
Right.
Not
So
one.
let me tell you this. I have a family that moved to the Netherlands, and they're right close to Belgium. And some of the most desirable beers in the world are in Belgium. And so the cool thing is that I have home court advantage of being able to get the pick of the litter of any beer I want that I've been craving to have for years, but I haven't had the means to get my hands on it. And they call these beers white whales, or are very, very desirable in the beer community. And so I've been able to get some of those beers and bring them back over here in suitcases with my family that are going back and forth visiting the grandkids, right? And what I've discovered is although those beers are really good to some people, you may not like them. And so just because it gets a high rating doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it. And so that's where I'm at. I'm a beer snob, and so I like what I like. And I don't give a flying flip if you don't agree with me, because it's for me, right? And so you find your comfort zone and what you like, and you kind of gravitate in that direction. And I'm still pushing the fence a bit and exploring other types of styles that I'm not comfortable with, or I didn't like the first time I tried them, because every variation or every brewer has a different method of doing the same thing. So you might get 10 bottles of the same style, and they are all different. And so one of them, you may pick one of the 10 bottles and you love it, and the other 9 of them, you want to spit it out like Chevy Chase. It's just a matter of preference. And so I find that the more I learn about this,
if you were to drink a regular popular beer in the United States, which one would you gravitate towards?
Only one beer that I go to when I can't find something that makes me go, oh, what the hell is that? Let me try that. I'll go straight to Guinness. And a lot of people will cringe when I say Guinness, but the fact of the matter is I like it. And so it's my go-to beer. And I found out that there's different qualities of Guinness depending on where I go. So when I'm at Albertsons and I buy Guinness, it doesn't taste the same as if I'm in a pub getting a hand-pulled Guinness off of the cask in a pub over there. So they're different. But I've set my bar pretty high on the Guinness as being my go-to beer. And I think the reason I like it is because it only has 4% alcohol and you don't get fucked up, but it's very tasteful. And it also has a different mouthfeel than most beers.
I like Guinness. Yeah. Aaron wants to know if we've ever tried kombucha beer.
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure. Can you pull up a picture of it? Maybe I can see the label.
I will try. Yeah.
I have a tool that I use to keep track of the beers that I've tried. It's called Untappd. It's UNTTDD, I think. TTDD. Untappd. It's an app that you can get on your phone or your computer. And once you have an account, you can keep track of your beer exploits by just logging it as you go. And so a lot of times when I have a new beer that I haven't had before, I'll log it in there so that I can't forget it. And if I do forget it, I can go back there and look up my list of beers and I can find it.
Kombucha, I'm trying to figure out. Wonderful.
You see that copper keg you have there in the middle?
Right here?
That.
Yeah.
That's UK.
That's exactly right. $229.
Yeah, I have that. My kids got it for me for Christmas last year. It does a really good job because it has a CO2 cartridge inside of it. And so you're able to keep the beer pressurized for a longer period of time. So if you find a beer you like on tap and they'll sell you a growler fill, you can go over there and get them to fill up your growler, and you can keep it for a week or two without having it lose any carbonation.
Kombucha is some sort of type of beer. It's not a specific brewery. It's a bubbly fermented concoction.
It's fermented, but is it fermented with barley and grain, or is it something else?
I don't know. They likened it to a mixture of tea, bacteria, and sugar.
Okay, so that's probably a sour type beer, which is kind of very popular these days. Have you heard of sour beers?
Negative.
So sour beers is basically an accident that happened when they're doing open fermentation. So the fermentation vessels didn't have covers and all the sanitizing and stuff that goes on these days with the hobby. But the open containers, bacteria would get involved. And that could have started with a fly landing on the beer or some sort of infection in the area where they were doing their brewing. And once that infection takes hold, they can't get rid of it. And so they just kind of go with it. And it's really popular over in Belgium where they have these monks that have been doing it for hundreds of years. And they've got these sour beers that they make that are just spectacular. And the weird part about it is the yeast and the bacteria together work on the beer. And it looks like a nasty infection. It's very gross. If you saw one, you'd go, oh my God, I'm not drinking that. But once it finishes, it's amazing, the flavors that it creates. And the longer it goes, the more sour it gets. And so a lot of these big brewers are mixing them together kind of like they do with Merlots. So they get a more predictable result. They'll take a very, very bitter, older beer and they'll mix it with a younger one and get a perfect blend of the sour that they're looking for. But there's different kinds of bacteria that create different kinds of sour.
Wikipedia says exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I know some stuff. But I learned that because I started tasting these beers. And the first time I took one down my gullet, I was like, oh my God, it's like drinking a sweet tart. It's terrible. But it kind of grows on you. And you try different ones. And I tried a Krek. And then I tried a Berliner Weiss. And I tried a Goza. And every one that I tried was different. And so there's different variations on the style. But they're all made with basically the same thing. They have a bacteria infection that adds to the fermentation process.
So here's the link that Aaron just sent us, kombucha. Hard kombucha with a hint of ginger and tangerine. It's got tea. It's a mixture of tea and I guess regular hops and grains, whatever.
I'm pretty sure that that's a sour beer. If it's not, I'd be surprised.
Bro, I mean, that's what most people are doing.
It's only 2 grams of carbs, 2 grams of sugars. Gluten-free, it's only 100 calories. So
okay, so it's not using any grains because they can't do that and make it gluten-free. There's a brewery out of Canada called Glutenberg, and they make entirely gluten-free beers. That's their thing. And so if you look up Glutenberg, you'll see all kinds of different variations on styles. But what they were going for, and it's difficult to do, is to try to mimic the traditional styles, the styles that you are used to, the ones that you normally see in regular beers. But they're trying to make those flavor profiles not using the grains that cause the celiac problems.
Steve, I don't know. I don't think they brew every day. He was asking how much beer they brew every day.
Okay. So this is a store, and the store only brews on Saturday. So every Saturday, I'll show you this sign here. Brewing Shop Next Winter Spiced Ale. You see it?
Brewing at Shop Next Winter.
So every week they have a different style that they put up on the board, and they're going to brew it on that Saturday. So if you wanted to see them brew that style of beer, come here next Saturday. Hey, Casey.
What's going on, Randy?
We're live on the World Wide Web.
Hey, everybody.
This is Casey. He's a beer snob as well.
Yeah. Aficionado.
You get to meet a lot of good people in the world of beer if you hang out at this shop here, because there's so many different styles of beer and different variations on everything. I just keep learning new stuff, and as much as I learn, it just gets harder to learn more because they keep raising the bar on me. So we're doing a marathon live feed to the interwebs. And so you're a big star on the internet right now in Belgium, Guatemala.
Guatemala.
Everywhere.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing some Belgian wheat.
Belgian wheat.
Belgian. I don't like any beer I can't see through.
So my next beer I'm making is going to be a titty beer. It's for promoting lactation in women.
What's in it? Oats?
It's a recipe. I'm just gaffling it off the internet.
You might need to get some of that. I already made one.
Do you have a titty beer?
Yeah.
Well, I need to see your recipe.
It's
got some.
It's got called booby juice.
Okay, so that's part of the recipe, and then they have some other adjuncts that they add to make it promote. Yeah. I think I might have got the same recipe from the same source.
No, I made mine up.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's actually.
Aaron wants to know if anybody tried any nitrogen beer.
Yeah.
But can't you buy?
Guinness
Don't you buy? The Guinness has nitrogen in it when you open up the can, right?
And it's got a carburetor, so that it basically what it's doing is it's releasing nitrogen when you go through the carburetor, so that it gets out of there, and all that's left behind is the CO2. But it's a combination of CO2 and nitrogen together, and that they can't actually put the nitrogen into solution without a carrier like CO2. And so basically it's a hybrid CO2 nitrogen mix. And then the carburetor, or the type of nozzle that you pour it from, is called a nitrous nozzle, or here's stouts that come out of these big nozzles. That's to actually agitate the beer coming out of the nozzle to get rid of the nitrogen.
Here's one of the cans with the balls inside.
It works, but you got to pour the beer aggressively. If you pop the top and then you pour it over really, really aggressively, you're going to get a really good result. The head comes up and then the nitrogen starts trying to go down. It won't stay inside the solution, though, and that's why you see that crazy-looking bubble effect in a Guinness or any of those nitro beers.
Oh, there you go, right there. There it is.
Bingo. That works really well. Out of the can, the Guinness in the can actually works really good. The bottle's not as good as the can.
Right.
But you pop the top and then you flip it over like 180 degrees and let it go into the cup, and you get a super good result.
Steve wants to know, at what point in the show can we see open bobs?
Not happening. Unless I can get a volunteer from the audience.
Sharon Sullivan.
Sharon, she can grab the last seat.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Perfect. Perfecto. See. Open in the new tab.
I'm still trying to get my son up, because if he wakes up today, I'll have a monitor.
I mean, the other thing I could do is I can unhook the security camera. We don't need. You want me to do that?
I only have the cable for the HDMI. If it doesn't have HDMI input, I can't use it. It does. Sweet. So I can use that. Yeah, and I'll put it back when I get it all working. Once I get it working, I'm not going to probably change it much, if at all. And then eventually I'll get my son to bring his monitor.
Oh, man, we don't need the camera.
We're looking at a potential solution to the monitor issue that I created.
All right. Tell them we have to start over.
We'll have to start over.
Randy.
Yeah. Awesome.
By the time we do this 100 times, we'll have it down.
Yeah, I'm sure. 100 is the safe spot. Once you get to 100, you're good. Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, I should have had a monitor. I actually have a monitor in my travel case for the 800, the TriCaster 800, but I didn't bring that. I brought the Mini. So the Mini has a screen on it, but it doesn't default to a screen you can use. So that's
You want me to set it up for you?
perfect. Is that the cord? All right, I'm going to mute my microphone because I'm working over here. John, how many people are watching?
Right now, there's 4 people in the room.
So I'm going to go ahead and reboot this TriCaster and get this working. So I'm going to go off. Just keep the room open, yeah?
Yep. Feelings. For your entertainment enjoyment, I will be singing various songs. This is a live demonstration of beer. We're cooking the mash. For the last hour, we've been cooking mash. Pancakes!
So John, what's the most popular microbrewery in Las Vegas or bar?
There's a big microbrewery here. Gordon Biersch. Do you know that one?
I do now.
Dude, there's one right by your house. Well, it's in Temecula.
Yeah, there's a microbrew place in Dos Lagos, the brand new shopping center there.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it's called, but it's a bar / microbrewery.
Gordon Biersch is very popular. Yeah. Gordon Biersch. They're all over the place. San Diego, everything else. They opened up here, I don't know, about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Gordon Biersch.
They
got good food.
I think San Diego has a lot of microbrews.
They have tons, dude.
Yeah, look up microbrews in Escondido. I think that's pretty, that downtown area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Randy was saying, is that it's very popular these days.
Yeah.
But who knew there was this many variables in order to brew fucking beer, dude?
Well, it's a professional like beer chef. You gotta learn, and then next thing you know, you're professional.
Yeah, but you got to know chemistry too.
Yeah, you can get paid to work for a company.
You have to balance in the mash and then you have the fermentation of the beer. I mean, there's so many variables involved.
Yeah.
It's not like wine. I mean, wine is a breeze compared to beer. It sounds like, from what I'm learning.
Well, it seems like beer is very very experiment, and also it's almost like good luck. Let's taste it. Oh man, this is good. Okay, that's good.
Did you learn what the number one beer in the world is?
Yeah, you were saying a China beer.
Yep, Snow. It's called.
The only thing is that based on price?
That's based on sales.
Yeah.
Based on sales.
Because when you go on vacation, a lot of these people that are on vacation, these travelers, they're looking for the best tasting, cheapest beer.
It says here the world's top selling beer is a watery lager, which is exactly what I like. Sold in China for $1 a liter. That's why it's so popular.
Yeah, we back in the day when I was young like you, we used to drink Lucky Lagers. It was like a small bottle, and
I know Lucky Lagers, dude.
Yeah, each cap had a puzzle on it.
Yep, I remember Lucky Lager, dude.
Those were great in 120 degrees. you know, in the,
Yeah, of course.
in the water. Yeah.
Yeah, but so was Coors. Same thing. Coors.
Yeah, but usually if you bought Coors, it would be in a can.
Dude, what are you eating for breakfast?
Oh, I'm just having an everything bagel.
Put on it.
I'll make pancakes in about an hour.
No, what'd you put on your
Just
bagel?
with butter.
Butter? That's it on a bagel?
Yeah, I have a piece.
Dude, where's
I'll probably eat a piece.
lox and cream cheese?
I'll probably eat a piece of ham in a little bit.
Lox and cream cheese, dude. You know what lox are, right?
Another broadcast fermentation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But that goes.
Well, you know,
that
Randy
goes with wine, though. You should do a wine one.
Randy normally brews beer, and now that we have Randy on the platform as a regular, I said, dude, we got to do beer on Get Vocal.
Yeah.
So we'll just have this as an archive now, so we can show it to people, saying, here's an example of a show on Get Vocal. Right?
Yeah. What was the longevity of a Get Vocal? Is it 2 hours or more?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we got to be running up to that because we started an hour and a half ago. You're muted,
John,
Randy.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
so I just checked my my bag, and I don't have the freaking power supply for the camera, which is stupid because I put it all in the bag. I thought, but I don't have it on the table, so it must be at home. So I'm gonna run home real quick, about 10 minutes away, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave the computer pointing at the brew rig.
Yeah, good idea. Over the river and through the woods.
So yeah, my favorite micro brewed beer, like, you know, home brew, I should call it, is a more medium, you know, medium light honey beer.
Honey beer's mead.
What's that?
Mead.
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 Mead?
Mead.
Yeah. My friend John made a distillery in his the bathtub butted up against the garage. You know, he cut a hole in the garage.
Feedback.
But he makes a dark beer like what Randy likes, you know, nutty. And then he also makes a light beer, and he makes a medium beer usually.
Let's see. Aaron just saying something. Oh, he just sent you a recipe for mead beer.
Yeah.
Feedback loop. Oh no!
It's his lap.
How is it get?
It's his laptop.
I record conferences. What is that?
Oh, you gotta turn the mics off, Randy.
Did that work?
No, mute. Nope. Still got feedback.
It was my headset. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Okay, so that's my headset. You can build a recipe. It helps you know that.
Yeah. The headphones can cause feedback, right?
So
thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, so I'm gonna step down, see if anyone wants to come in.
Oh no. Still getting feedback a little bit, Randy.
Or you can do a beer, we're gonna guess.
Let's see what happens now. Yeah, that seems better. It seems better now. Right, cell phone, right.
Yeah. Why don't you do that anyway for sanitation? Not really. I mean, the same pick up the power supply for the camera. I left it in the freaking living room.
Over the river and through the woods.
How many mistakes can you make?
Well, it's the only way you learn.
That's actually how they're figuring out.
Your audio on your phone is horrible.
Now it's like 7,000 or 8,000. What they're doing?
I don't know why, but it's really bad. I don't know. It's you sound like you're in a can.
I still hear myself. Wine doesn't say that wine leaves like some kind of compound. I can't remember what it's called.
Well, the feed from the shop is really loud, and then your feed from your phone is horrible.
EBW, powdered brewer's malt,
I don't know why. We should be hearing you really clearly on your phone.
Well, Samsung is have to clean before they fly. So in the beer world, like that's a star signal. Right?
I can barely hear you on your phone. Barely.
You see what I'm saying? Because you can't take dirt and put it in your sand.
No, hey.
You always play. So they make a cleaner that powdered brewer's malt. It will actually get beer stone off on the kettles. Look like beer stone in the water. You know what I think it is? Barkeeper might on the laptop. Like a powder, buy the beer stone or whatever. Sprinkle a little bit off, put some water on it.
But how is that affecting your phone?
It's not. They're talking and it's picking it up on the mic.
Not yet. It's too young, but it should be like right now.
Yeah, I think right now. I should have muted the laptop. Can you mute me?
Right.
Can you mute the laptop audio?
No.
Get you some.
No.
Barkeeper. Yeah. Because the little
Can't do anything.
I apologize, but I'm going to be back there probably in about 3-5 minutes. Make a paste and just rub it on there. Walk away for 4 or 5 minutes. Come back. Well, I got the monitor problem solved, but I still don't have the power supply for the camera.
Hey, Colin, can you hear Randy talking it up?
Yeah, I would assume it went on copper, but I want to check on that. Marking on.
Barely, yeah, we can barely hear you.
Yeah, I can understand what he's saying.
See, I can hear Bobby. I can hear Bobby fine.
Basically, I don't know what's wrong with my phone, but if I leave and come back, it might drop the connection.
Oh, it's coming back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you wiggling something, a connector or something?
Yeah, it's all the I'm on my cell phone. It's got no connectors. Yeah.
We can understand what you're saying, so just go with it.
Well, you taking that out of back?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
this situation in about 10 minutes, but I have to get the power supply to the camera and then I'll be back to normal. we've been circulating for over an hour.
So John, this is a great microbrewing lesson here on broadcasting.
Once I stop the flow, I don't want the element on, so I actually have to plug it in. So I don't burn.
This is great.
It's not that chaotic usually. I'm complicating the plot by social media.
Well, it kind of adds to the whole thing of the mashing. You know, we're going through the process of mashing the beer down.
That's what's going on right
This is
now.
part of the brewing process.
He's recirculating the wort through a heating element to keep
They don't know what they did. I've been brewing it really long. We've been going a little while. Yeah, but that's when we do this.
I got a snapshot of that, John.
Well, probably at the beginning, the first couple matches, and then once you get it down, you know, I can understand.
Those guys are loud.
We don't want to have
The guys at the store are loud.
You know, that's the thing, though. Even with a 15-gallon system, you can make 6 gallons of water. So start small, get the process down, start understanding it, and then, you know, okay, well, I got this recipe down in my system.
Funny. That's funny, Paul.
That was good.
Colin, have you brewed beer? Colin, talking to Colin.
Yeah.
Are you back, Brandon?
Easier just to, and again, if something goes wrong, we're not out.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
20-gallon pot, you know, a 5-gallon batch is going to be probably pretty low. Like, it might be below where the thermometer is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you won't be able to use a thermometer.
Muted.
It'll still boil and it'll still be
I don't even know how to mute on it.
Dry hop it, which means we got to ferment the beer, and then we're going to add more hops to it. Sit for about a week. This is probably
working now.
Like
yep, better.
Come back in 3 weeks and it'll be on the keyboard. That's great. I could speed it up a lot, but we got a lot of beer right now. So I'm not that German beer, they claim takes 60 and 90 days to make. Well, that's the thing when you're doing the lager beers. Lagers ferment cold, 52. So yeast, the hotter they are, the faster they work. The colder they are, the slower they work. So when you're doing a lager beer can take up to 21 days to ferment, where this beer will take 10 days to ferment. Yeah, okay. And again, it's because of temperature. This is going to ferment at 67 degrees. A lager is going to ferment at 52 degrees. And then lager means store cold in German. So that's actually the term. How do you control your temp on that? You just set it in the warehouse and we have we have the controller set up. You plug the fridge into the controller. Put the temperature probe into the beer.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
I don't care what the fridge temperature is.
Okay, so I got.
That's the easiest way to go.
Yeah, I think that other feed is so loud that it's like drowning everything out.
Yeah, I'm right around the corner from my house.
Perfecto. Perfect.
I'm in the driveway.
Yeah, stop the flow. I'm going to unhook some line, hook this up, put the hot water out. Yeah, we're about to start. R&D on like a rebalance system. They have to scale it below 50 or 20. I can scale it from 3 barrels to 15 barrels, then it goes to 5 barrels. And you have 3 bulk